house, make me a house of prayer.
My name is Melissa Hendrick.
Lord, make me a house
I am 37 years old.
of prayer, a house of prayer.
I was raised in the church all my life, but honestly, serving the Lord with my whole heart probably since I was around 18 years old. I was baptized when I was a young girl. I was about 11 years old, and I still remember that day very, very clearly. We didn't have a baptistry in our church, so we actually had to go to a neighboring church that was just down the street. And my grandfather baptized me along with like 5 or 6 of my really good friends. And it was actually on my sister's birthday too, so that made it really special. It was a beautiful day. I received the Holy Ghost, and I can still remember the spot I was standing in the church building. I was 12 years old. It was almost a year later from when I was baptized. I was kind of disappointed because, you know, I wanted that whole experience where when I come up out of the baptistry that I was just going to be filled right then. It didn't happen that way, but that was okay. But I was filled with the Holy Ghost in a revival that we had at my home church at the time. And I still remember who was preaching the revival. His name was Brother Smith. He was from Texas. And my mom and my aunt and I want to say my grandmother was standing around me praying. And when it hit me, I mean, I was just filled. And that was the most wonderful day of my life. I was raised in church all my life. My grandfather was my pastor. My uncle was a minister. My dad was a minister. From the time I was 4 years old, I sang in church. All of my family played instruments in church or sang in some form or fashion. And I can remember from the time that I was a small child, hearing my grandparents pray, and the power of the Holy Ghost would fall inside the church building in a way that I'd never seen before. And I remember thinking, it's this way for everybody, or so that's what I thought. And so today when I think about that, I'm so thankful for the heritage that I was brought up in, the legacy that my grandparents, my parents, even my great-grandparents left for me. And as I grew up, of course, I did things in the church. I learned how to play piano. I was a Sunday school teacher. I've taught other classes in different capacities, but of course, like all of us do, when we become older teenagers, we think we know it all. And I strayed from the Lord probably for 4 or 5 years. I still went to church. I still participated, but my heart was not dedicated like it should have been. I wasn't out there partying. I wasn't out there doing the things like most kids asked me to go and do with them. Most of the time I was at home sitting at the piano writing a song or something, whatever the Lord gave me. But through that inspiration is what brought me back and made me realize that if I didn't get right, I wasn't going to see the Lord. And at 22 years old, I was in a service in McClure, Illinois. I remember it plain as day. My sister received the Holy Ghost that night, and God said to me clearly, you will not see her in heaven, the state that your heart is in right now. And she was rejoicing, and the Holy Ghost was being poured out on her in the most beautiful way. And I hit my knees, and right then and there, I said, God, make me new. Mold me into something that you want me to be. Not what everybody expects of me, because sometimes those of us that were raised in church, we're expected to be a certain way all the time, 24 hours a day, but we still have the same issues as everyone else. We still have times where we have to go to God and ask for forgiveness and say, God, renew me again. Renew me over, make me more like you. And ever since that day, I've tried to serve the Lord the best I could and with gladness. And I'm just so thankful for his mercy and grace and hearing his voice that day. God has done many, many things in my life. We don't have all day to tell every story, but there's a couple. Besides filling me with the Holy Ghost and saving my soul, I got married in 2009, and it was one of the best times of my life. It still is. But about 2 years into the marriage, we found out that I had cancer, and because of the cancer, that we wouldn't be able to have children. And that was very hard for me, especially when all of my friends around me have beautiful babies, and I could go on social media every day and see them taking them to school and going to the park with them. And I know there's more to having children than just the stuff you see on social media, but my heart longed for a child, and the cancer was taking that away from me. The doctors gave me an option that I could not have surgery and still try to have children, or and that's with the chance of the cancer coming back, or I could go ahead and have the surgery, not be able to have kids, and my chances of living were great. So my husband and I prayed about it, and we knew without a doubt that I needed to have the surgery. But here's the crazy part, or the good part, not crazy. They found a mass in an area in my body that was surrounded also by cancer and my cells around it. I went to service one night, and I knew God was going to heal me. Somehow he was going to heal me. I didn't know how, but I knew that God was going to heal me and he was going to let me live. And so a minister and his wife prayed for me, as well as my family. I was sitting on the altar. I couldn't even stand up. I was too weak. In fact, I felt like I would faint if I tried to stand up for very long. And they began to pray for me, and I felt a horrific pain in my stomach like I've never felt before. And when I got home, I was so sick. I was actually more sick after the prayer than before. But God moved something, and I felt it. When I went to the doctor a week later, they did more scans, and the mass was gone. Now, I still had cancer in that area in my body that had to be removed through surgery, but the mass was going to cause the surgery to be more extensive and for me to be under longer. And thankfully, that was gone when I went back to the doctors. And so if I could say anything today, it would be that God has timing and a plan for everything. And although I felt like something was taken away from me, he gave me life. He extended my life, and he showed me mercy, and he showed me that even through it all, that he's a great big God, and he's going to take care of me no matter what. Is it easy to live for God? If you serve the Lord with gladness and joy, it's absolutely easy. Yeah, there's going to be dark days. There's going to be days where you feel weak. And those days, yes, are going to be hard. But the thing is, you have the word of the Lord that you can turn to. You have your brothers and sisters in the Lord that you can turn to. And they can lift you up in times where you think that it's pretty bleak. When I went through a dark time in my life, the word and music really spoke to me in a strong way. And my mother lifted me up so many times. My mom is a very strong lady, and I can remember, just laying my head in her lap and crying and saying, "Mom, this is so hard." And she would pray with me, and it seemed like it just got easier. But yeah, serving the Lord with gladness, that's what makes it easier. You are precious in God's sight. He made you for such a time as this. And sometimes we may not know our purpose when we first start with the Lord. And when we're first introduced to Jesus, sometimes we're confused and we don't know who we are in him. But if we can hold on to him and continue to search the word and pray and just let God know that your mind and your heart is open to Him, He can do miraculous things for you. There's nothing in this world that I would trade Jesus for. He is beyond anything that you can ever imagine. He'll go further than any lawyer, than any doctor, than even your brother or sister will go for you. He's an awesome, awesome God.
Oh, make